Hi, I'm Sam.
Hi, I'm Ketty.
And we are the Lotus in Life. I bet you could say that along with us now, couldn't you?
Yeah. So today we're going to be talking about challenging inner negativity and creating a victory of the heart. So this comes from the May Indigo of 2009 under their study course for autumn. Sam, why don't you get us started?
Thank you, Ketty. So, as you just said, one of the points today that we'll be talking about is challenging inner negativity. I know myself, that is something I always challenge. So, it goes like this. In this session, we will study how, through the act of unifying our minds with the law and the mentor, we are able to continuously struggle against the devilish functions of life in order to express our enlightenment and achieve a victory of the heart. So what is enlightenment? Very simply, it is enacting the recognition that our life is infinitely capable and worthy, that there is no situation or problem that is beyond the ability of our life to transform, that every situation we are facing is a source of benefit, and that everyone and everything is inextricably linked to our happiness. It is simply the state of our minds manifested in our behavior that will determine whether or not we lose or gain. In the life state of enlightenment, we can see in every situation a wonderful possibility for our life to create value. And talking of creating value, the Soka Gakkai actually means value creation society. Mm-hmm. So this goes to the heart of our organization.
Exactly.
Fundamental darkness or ignorance, on the other hand, means being in the dark about this ability and possibility in any given situation. So greed, anger, foolishness, animality, arrogance, and doubt are all ways we lose sight of our inherent capability. This is manifest when, for example, we know we need to take a certain step in order to achieve our goal. But doubts or fears set in and we lose our focus, and instead we get lost in the darkness of fear. Life shrouded in fundamental darkness is like walking in complete darkness. And because we cannot see in front of us, we bump into things or fall into a hole. Once the sun rises or the light is switched on, there is no more darkness. Lo and behold, we can clearly see the correct path to take. With such a clear vision, we can move forward with confidence and hope. This is called the path of value creation. So it follows that we challenge the darkness of delusion by bringing forth the light of enlightenment. And we do this when we unite our minds with the mystic law. The mystic law is immediately activated when we break through fundamental darkness and manifest as various kinds of benefit and value-creating functions. Buddhism teaches us that our suffering or desires are the means by which we reveal our enlightenment. In other words, without suffering or desires, we'd have nothing to chant about. So because we have sufferings and desires, we have a reason to chant.
And would you say without the mud, we wouldn't have the beautiful lotus?
Absolutely. Very, very well put. Yep, absolutely. The fundamental darkness is a hard nut to crack, because even in the midst of suffering, it can prevent us from realizing that we are coming from a position of ignorance. And so we persevere in a vicious cycle based on the delusion or incorrect view, compounding our suffering. Shrouded in fundamental darkness, we lose sight of the other, and we concentrate on our own salvation. In other words, we become incredibly insular. Foolishly forgetting that our enlightenment is inseparable from the causes we make towards the happiness of others. Hence, we are inseparable from our environment. This kind of self-centeredness is the cause and effect of the devilish functions of life. This can happen to us when, for example, having spent time and energy helping, supporting a friend or relative out of goodwill and a deep desire to help They return our support with resentment, thanklessness, and even hatred. Or they just stop responding to us. In turn, we might get angry or frustrated. Thus obscuring our Buddhahood, we give up on them, and everyone loses. However, when we transform our life condition through chanting and reflecting on our own expectations that may contribute to conflicts, we can see things in a way we could not before. We can see that the apparently ungrateful reactions of friends and relatives stem from their suffering. And yet we persevere in our belief in their potential. At that moment, we are revealing our enlightenment. So there's a lot to take in there.
A lot, yeah, but it's very powerful because fundamental darkness is something that affects everyone. Everyone has problems, everyone has their battles that they have to face.
Absolutely, Kelly. And wouldn't you say also that when we, as it said here, you know, we do something for someone, we support a friend, and their reply to us is anger or hatred or, you know, ego. I could have done that without you telling me, or something like that. It's quite common for when that happens to press a button in us that makes us react rather than respond. And I think reacting comes from our fundamental darkness, whereas considered thought, responding, comes from our enlightened state. And I think that when we stop for a moment and we absorb that maybe that person is suffering, that then we can come from an enlightened state and not from a knee-jerk reaction. So based on this, I'd like to ask the question, how do you, Kelly, break out of your fundamental darkness to help others that are suffering?
Well, that's actually something that I'm figuring out right now. I'm in the process of breaking away from my fundamental darkness because I'm trying to make some big changes within myself and really polish my life and raise my life condition. So what I could say is I'm learning to try and take a moment and rather than respond instantly because it feels gratifying, I need to pause and I need to think. I need to chant, I need to breathe in order to bring that Buddha, that rational self forward so that I can push out of my fundamental darkness. Because when I give in to my fundamental darkness, I react and I make things worse and I elevate the situation when I could de-escalate it. And I can see that in life, if someone reacts strongly, the other person needs to be calm so that you can bring the level down so they match each other. And then after that, now, as I'm polishing myself, I'm able to see how my fundamental darkness is affecting me and how I need to break away and listen to the needs of others and hear their suffering and be there for them rather than only focus on me and my fundamental darkness.
Very, very well put.
And what about you, Sam? So how would you say you break away from your fundamental darkness and focus on someone else who's suffering?
Thank you for asking. I would say my dominant fundamental darkness is sensitivity. I know that if somebody has a go at me or somebody says something negative to me, it really hurts. It goes straight in there.
Me too, though.
Yeah. And I have a friend. I'm not going to mention names, but I have a friend, and I've known this person now for, I'd say, 20 years. And I know that she suffers a lot. And the suffering that this person goes through manifests in sometimes in bitterness. And sometimes in she'll have a go at me, for no reason. And I actually use this now as a template to realize that when that person is having a go at me, they're not having a go at me. It's their life condition is suffering.
Yeah.
And they have to release it somehow. So it's difficult in the moment, But one thing I know, and I'm sure you know, and I'm sure all of you know, is that when we chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo to the Gohonzon, every time we do that, we elevate our life condition. So that when we're going to somebody that is suffering, and there is the possibility that they might reject us, they might have a go at us, they might be angry at us. Because we're in a high life condition, we can actually absorb that person and really feel compassion for that person and love for that person and help them release their suffering. And when that happens, it's both people feel much better. Yeah.
I agree. I think for me, I view anger as just a tool of where you're only angry at yourself. When you direct anger forward or outwards, it's because there's something inside you that's suffering. So you're exactly right. So now we'll move to the victory of the heart, the second part, and how we overcome this.
Which I think is a very good segue from what we've just been talking about.
Exactly.
Okay.
So Buddhism is about positively changing one's heart, because a change of heart leads to change in attitude and action, and then the impossible becomes possible. This is the process of human revolution, where we continually polish our hearts to become indestructible. To show actual proof of faith when battling life's negativities, it is vital that we develop inner strength and fortitude to which we constantly fight and win over our inherent negativity or fundamental darkness. So essentially, because fundamental darkness is so subtle and such a trickster, we need to seek a model. It is the person who continually fights against fundamental darkness who is the model for faith and practice. This is the mentor. Unless we have a real-life model that shows actual proof, it is difficult to carry out this struggle and reform our life. The mentor wants to encourage us as disciples to walk along the same path as they have and engage the spirit of never allowing them to be defeated by the fundamental darkness. The mentor never dispenses the law to the disciple, but rather he inspires in us the desire to find the law within our lives as a means to challenge fundamental darkness. So, the first person to identify the four sufferings of humanity is Shakyamuni. However, it was Nichiren who made it possible for ordinary people to fight their own fundamental darkness. Since the mentor has shown proof through facing challenges and great struggles, our ability to reveal Buddhahood is proven and much easier to believe. So how did they do this? How did they fight their devilish functions? Only by concentrating on their mission or vow, indignant that humanity should be shrouded in fundamental darkness or deprived of their right to happiness, they made Kozen Rufu their focus, sparing no effort, never resting on what they achieved, and using each moment to encourage others and show proof until the very end. Our lives are not separate from Shakyamuni, Nichiren, the three presidents, and the Gohonzon. This oneness of mentor and disciple is Buddhist dialogue in action. So, passing responsibility from generation to generation, while keeping the spirit of devotion to the happiness of all humanity without prejudice, requires a profound connection with life and humanity, both on a personal and collective level. This relationship offers a free-spirited encounter at a deepest level of humanistic interaction, that of the heart or vow. The shared vow of Kozen Rufu unifies the will of mentor and disciple into a profound bond. This is the vow to strive for happiness of humanity by engaging directly on a one-to-one, heart-to-heart basis with individuals suffering, struggles, and hopes. So, what makes the Nichiren Daishonin Buddhism unique is that the disciple does not merely admire the mentor, but rather shares the same convictions as them, becoming the source of light and hope for everyone around them. Just like the mentor, the disciple dedicates their life for the sake of the law and the sake of human happiness, repaying the mentor's contribution with dedication and commitment. Continually battling life's negative functions for the sake of Kozen Rufu is enacting the vow. This means determining in our heart to grow in faith, to be prepared to meet any obstacle head on as an opportunity to show actual proof and encourage the people around us. In this way, we contribute to human security in its truest sense. Dialogue with the Gohonzon, that is sincere prayer to actualize the infinite possibilities of one life moment rather than succumb to the negativity and doubt that is the dark and muddy realm of devilish functions, is enlightenment itself. So from that, I'd like to ask you, Sam, why is Daisaku Ikeda the one mentor for you?
Great question. Daisaku Ikeda, as was mentioned in this piece that you just read out, Kelly, so beautifully, by the way.
Thank you.
He is our mentor for Kozen Rufu. He is our mentor for this Buddhism.
Mm-hmm.
The same way that Jose Toda was his mentor, and Makaguchi, Tsunaburo Makaguchi, was Jose Toda's mentor. So it's a direct lineage, a direct line of teachers of this particular Buddhism. If you want to go right back to the 13th century, Nichiren Daishonin started it all.
Yeah.
So your question, why is Daisaku Ikeda my mentor in life?
Mm-hmm.
Because he is in his, I suppose he started when he was 19. My maths isn't very good, at maybe 70 years of practice. For me, he has done so much for world peace. And I can only begin to in my 37 years of practice, I can only begin to think about what small thing can I do? You know, I would like to, when I say small, I guess I'm humbled by Daisaku Ikeda. He's done so much. And we all have our mission in this lifetime. I was told this recently that, you know, when I asked the question, well, wow, why can't I do some things that Daisaku Ikeda's done? And the answer that I was given was that we all have our mission. We all have our own life's work. So the reason that I've chosen Daisaku Ikeda as my mentor is because he teaches me how I can not only overcome my fundamental darkness and attain enlightenment, I can help other people do that as well. And it's this vow for Kozen Rufu that is the mentor's hopes and dreams for us, his disciples, and how we walk alongside of him, and how we use our own individual creativity, our own individual powerful, beautiful lives to walk the path of Kozen Rufu and to be an influence around people, so that they may ask us, what are you doing and how do you do it? And we can then explain about this Buddhism. We can talk about this Buddhism, and perhaps they can start to chant and they can overcome their fundamental darkness and reveal their enlightenment. So it's very hard to answer just in a few minutes, that question, Kenny, but for me, Daisaku Ikeda is not a god. He is an amazing human being that I'm incredibly influenced by, and I'd like to emulate his wish. So I know you've been practicing, like I've been practicing for 37 years, and you've been practicing for 3 years, you were telling me earlier. So you've been in the practice a short time. Could you tell me how you actually feel at this point in your practice about Daisaku Ikeda?
So for me, I'm still have a lot to learn. I'm still figuring it out. I know that he's worked very hard for peace around the world, for Kozen Rufu, and he continues to inspire people throughout all his years of practice. He works hard. You told me before that he overcame tuberculosis and lived till like 90, and And I know that he makes peace proposals every year, and he very much advocates for things that he's passionate in. So I'm sort of at the beginning, at the start of my journey of really connecting with his material, his guidance. But even the things he says, the values he holds is something that I'd like to emulate as well.
Fantastic. That's great. You're on a good path.
Thank you.
So that brings us to the end of session 3. The next session will be session 4, taken again from Indigo 2009.
Yeah.
Thank you. She's got much better memory than I have. And May Indigo 2009. And that'll be the end of this particular series about human security. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. So I'm Sam.
I'm Ketty.
And we are the Lotus in Life. See ya.
Bye.